Good day, everybody. It is 4 o'clock and it's time for reading. And it is read, read, read. I just love to entice my students to read. And I thought this is a very good program, a very good way to do it, to introduce people to some latest books. Now, we have done a number of these sessions already. I think this is number 6. This is the last one for the year. We will start in January once again with another exciting book and something, if you're interested in reading in December and January, you could maybe somewhere on the beach or in your home read this wonderful book, but I will allude you to it. Right, so the last time we read Hidden Potential, the science of achieving greater things. And I thought I need to connect some dots. One of the wonderful sort of references I got out of this book, there is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. And especially it was about talking about perfectionism and imperfectionism and how we should actually strive for imperfectionism. And yeah, that brought me to a number of books. This one, The Art of Scale, Mastering the Craft of Growth, is the next books we are going to discuss. So if you're interested in entrepreneurship and or even you have an organization that needs to grow, so often I see in the action learning projects that students want to grow their organization's market share or whatever, and we will be discussing that. So in the book on the hidden potential, we said that the most important thing is to build character skills. Become a creature of discomfort. Don't be afraid to try a new style. Use it or never gain it all. Seek discomfort. Set a mistake budget. Become a sponge, increase your absorptive capacity. Ask for advice, not feedback. Figure out which sources to trust to be a coach you hope to have. And then further on, become an imperfectionist. Now, this sort of theme took me to entrepreneurship once again and the informal economy, which is so imperfect, where you need to strive for excellence and not perfection. Enlist judges to gauge your progress, be your own last judge, and engage in mental time travel. Now that is fine. And then I came across these books. Kasinomics Revolution, The Rise of African Informal Economies. And I was hoping that we could have a whole lot of our African students this afternoon, because so often they want to know, how do we go about growing our businesses, our informal businesses? Now, GG Alcock, he is a boy from, can I say, rural areas. He grew up in KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. His first language is Zulu, so he speaks Zulu. He knows the Zulus, and he started doing research in terms of the informal economy. And his latest book is the book we are going to look at, Kasinomics Unleashed. And quite some interesting information came out, especially relating to the South African economy. And I think it could be something that could be the same somewhere else. You need to investigate. So at least we've got someone who investigated, did some research on the informal economy. Now, this is a very playful book with a whole lot of narratives. Too many stories. We don't have the time to tell them all. But he goes into detail into the quasi economics, that is the informal economics or the location economics. And look at his language, a journey from crawl to quasi, an economy unleashed. Are they invisible giants or small-scale nothings? The existential struggles of startups and scale-ups. And this scale-up actually brought me to our next book we are going to read. How do you go about scale-up? Because it is so interesting, the information he's given us on the informal economy. And then a local saying, pressa, pusha, panda. And it's all about the hustlers. You could see it's sort of playful. And within the informal settlements, we have a playfulness in the use of language, sometimes with the tongue in the cheek. I'm a double story, and I'm a stop nonsense. I just love this one. It's all about the housing and the RDP houses people get. It's 2-3 bedroom houses, and then they upgrade it, and those upgrades are stop nonsense houses. Usually they've got chrome gutters and extensive bolts onto these RDP houses. Silicon spas are unleashed. That was also a very interesting chapter. What e-commerce? What is the language for WhatsApp? what? I thought it's very playful. And then to tax or not to tax, a subject it touches on, and the path to unleashing a Kasinomic future. I thought to just say something what he's thinking about it. So very much I'm going to reflect, reference the author, and what I thought that was very interesting in this book. And maybe I hope you're going to enjoy this book as I have enjoyed it. Kasinomics, choosing to see the good in things is a superpower. He starts his book with this reference. He says, I also believe in the currency of hope and the untapped potential of Kasi business people, too often dismissed as worthless to the economy. I think that is often the case, as if the Kasi economy doesn't bring about anything to the formal economy. This is a book about business opportunities, pitfalls, and key success factors for business people. On the other, it's a story of small people doing big things. And it really touched my heart to listen to all of his stories, his narratives from people from scratch without any sources, building a business to a substantial business at the end, and then the problems of taking it further. So an economy unleashed, Alcock advised Capitec as one of the banks in South Africa, a no-nonsense bank in South Africa, is my words. The CEO, Gerrie Fourie, said, when we look at the South African economy, we look at the formal economy, but there is a much stronger underlying economy, the informal economy, and businesses are larger than expected. I will give you some figures later on what the Capitex says, people bank, and then they are so-called unemployed. The informal business world had become a next great frontier of Africa, was and is undergoing an economic revolution, a new world of small people doing big things, transforming the continent. I think we always say, and we understand, that entrepreneurship is going to carry economies. It's done that in Italy, in Portugal, and there's a number of other countries in Japan too. Family businesses becoming huge businesses and making a huge difference. So, an economy unleashed once again. The spaza sector, 150 billion retail revolution, are competing with formal retailers. The Kazi Kos, or foods, sorry for the spelling, food revolution, where a gogo, and that's an old lady in downtown Joburg, selling fit cook, could build a modern double-story house cash in Soweto. Kazi Green Grocers, Hot Body Chicken Lady are all narratives to support the notion of Kasinomics Unleashed. South Africa's hidden 750 billion economy is booming. One South African bank is pumping billions into the informal economy. Township retail centers have thrived despite high cost of living and elevated interest rates. Now, these are all things that Alcock describes in detail. Unfortunately, I don't think we have the time, but it's to just give you an idea of the size. How is this spending possible unless there is another source of income? To a large extent, these casipreneurs are independent. We should call it the independent business sector. They value their independence, the freedom to run their business as they wish, to be flexible and resilient, to be able to pivot when needed. 7.8 million people employed in this sector, an increase of 710%. That is to the years 1997 and 2023, 26 years. It is the other world. Indeed, a world we as formal business need to take in account. SA's employment stats could be wrong. And I know that he was very disruptive in saying this. He said our employment rate is not 32%. It is more like 10% or 11%. A lady selling fit cook and makes $100 a day is regarded as unemployed. But she is not unemployed. She is a business person. What is the real size of our informal economy when we consider what's not being measured? Is it that the informal economy is invisible, or is it that the tools used aren't measuring informality, as these tools are built to measure digital era, registered businesses, brick and mortar stores with signboards and digital presence? I think it is mind-blowing, and it opened up my mind for this informal economy that do exist. To build a successful business, you must start small and dream big. In the journey of entrepreneurship, tenacity of purpose is supreme. Aliko Dangote's famous words. True meaning of his French word entrepreneur defines a combination of a builder and an architect. So entrepreneurs are in fact builders and architects, designers. There are thousands of Kasipreneurs doing just that. Add resilience and resourcefulness, building business with no resources, surviving the shocks of macroeconomics and pandemics. The Kasipreneurs are independent business innovators, hustlers, and gig workers. And this is how they see themselves too. Scale-up difficulties, they do have. Payment solutions, a huge problem, but they find solutions. When is enough enough? When do you grow your business to a next community where you already have the interest of a community? 80% of the informal businesses in South Africa have never borrowed money because these informal businesses do have no trace or records of income. The focus is on communities, and upscaling is difficult. It is not just the budget for marketing, but the skills to build a marketing proposition, positioning of their brand, defining target consumers. Unfortunately, most Kasipreneurs do not have the skill to build a marketing campaign. And even though they don't have it, they grow their business through innovation. How do we support them? How do we supply them? How do we create reciprocal relations with the formal economy? We need one another to build a better future in this country. I really enjoyed this chapter, Presa Pusha Panda, the hustlers. The meaning of Presa Pusha Panda is in an indigenous language, you work hard, you hustle, and succeed. But this hustle is not negative in the sense of informal businesses. If you go to the dictionary, you will find negative connotations to hustlers. Oh yes, they would tell you there are dark hustlers and there's good hustlers. So it also exists. Survey Response is an African survey institute or business. It did research under age 18 to 34. Those who classified themselves as looking for work and unemployed, 41% of these people between 18 and 34 earned up to 15,000 per month through income-generating activities, through building, baking, hairdressing. Who are the hustlers? Young adults, anyone of any age who runs an informal or unregistered business. They get money from different sources. They have a purpose different to the 9-to-5ers. This is township language. Not to have the safety net of a payslip. A payslip defines what employment is in the informal settlement. If you not have a payslip, you are unemployed, even if you earn good money. So what do we need in South Africa is a new definition of unemployment. Capitec in 2024 says 3 million personal accounts reported an income of 3,000 to 35,000 Rand a month that does not come from a salary. Estimate that among the big 5 banks in South Africa, 5 million people will earn and deposit cash earned for hustle. 23% of South Africa's households depend on social grants. 15 million social grants and 3 million old age grants. 23% say that the grants are their only source of income. 77% say that social grant is not their only income. 8 out of 10 grant recipients, pressure, pusher, play. The question is, should we not celebrate it that 8 out of 10 people in the informal settlements, pressure, pusher, panda, hustle, impacted 80,000. Now, this is a very interesting story. Bulelani Township Entrepreneur Alliance has impacted 80,000 Kasi businesses. And this is quite immaculate figures. Funding opportunities for over 500 small businesses. And this is some of Bulelani Township Entrepreneur Alliance's reaction. To succeed in this unique economic landscape, one must integrate meaningful fostering trust and paving the way for future economic development and integration. Building bridges between the township economy and corporate South Africa is crucial for creating impactful initiatives that drive sustainable growth and prosperity. Informal entrepreneurs, and this was very interesting, money does not follow glamour, it follows value. And very important within this informal economy is the question, what is value? Kasipreneurs, for me, it is important to say I am not self-made. I am community-made and people-made. And this is the sort of general thought of Kasipreneurs, of township-preneurs. So Kasipreneurs, you will find them in all sectors: food, chicken, bread, general Kasi spaza stores, vegetables, beautiful narratives in the book about these cases, building industry, how they upgrade their houses from shacks to brick and mortar, interior decorating, transport, and how big businesses actually also benefit from these activities. Logistics, very hot, e-commerce, fintech, payment solutions, investments, stock fill, WhatsApp, the most popular, 90% penetration in South Africa, and property entrepreneurs, especially in the Western Cape, people expanding their property and having Airbnb and renting out these property is a huge business. Now the question is, to tax or not to tax? The hidden economy value in South Africa is 750 billion rand with no taxes. Is it true? Yeah, VAT. Most of the Kasipreneurs are not VAT registered. Fuel tax, there's over 250,000 taxis. Effect on corporate bottom line, example, Capitec and ShopRite. Property taxes is a question mark. Local government should start focusing on property taxes because you have mansions and not paying any taxes. Most businesses do not record income. SARS could collaborate. SARS is our tax regulatory institution, could collaborate with business centers in townships, incentivize registration of businesses, recording finances, etc. Unemployment figures are highly inflated. He says we have an uplifting economic prosperity story. He says if we want to unleash it in the future, two parallel paths to integrate these townships and rural economies into the economy mainstream. First, relationships and reciprocity, I struggle with the word. Formal and informal businesses exist side by side in this matrix. They should enable rather than disable each other. And then he suggests a hybrid formality. Strict formality will destroy many informal businesses, especially where informality is essential for that business to survive. So don't over-regulate. Informality is required for the informal economy. So, and what an enlightening book to read. Next will be The Art of Scale, Mastering the Craft of Growth by Jason Goldberg. And we will read this book in December and January. And I'd like to end off with Nassim Taleb's word, we do not know what we will know. Well, is there any questions? Short and sweet today, playful topic, and hopefully I've enticed you to read the book. Any questions? No questions today? No? No, Koshi?
Hello, Prof.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good.
Yes.
I joined in late. I tried to join earlier, but I couldn't get to join, and I joined later. I think you were halfway going through the book, but I think it's an interesting read. And I don't know if it ends just there about the Casipreneurs and whether I want to know. I'm a bit curious now how to group them, how to get them into the tax net, like they were saying. Does it
Yeah.
end there or it goes further?
Yeah, well, it depends. Some of the Casipreneurs don't want to grow because they ask you the question, what is enough? Enough is enough. They're not interested in going to a next community because if you're in the community, you are protected against crime, especially within the South African context. If you go to a next community, people don't know you there, and you've got other problems like crime.
Okay, second one. Are they registered businesses? The Casipreneurs, are they registered businesses?
No, they're not registered. They're informal.
Okay, okay. All
And
right, thank you.
they're not registered and it's not controlled. And that gives the Casipreneurs the freedom they love. If you ask them if they want to go for a work between 8 to 5, they say no, they're not interested in it.
Okay. I think we have a lot in Ghana as well. Mm,
Yeah. I
mm-hmm.
think if you start doing a research on the actual value of the informal economy, you would be amazed.
Very true. Thank you very much, sir.
Right, thank you now.
Please, what's the title of the book again?
The title is Casipreneurs Unleashed.
Okay.
Kasinomics Unleashed.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You will be able to get the link for the recording and also the slides.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, more questions? It's quite disruptive thoughts Alcock has, but more and more people are starting to listen to him. Rejan?
I think it's more of a comment than a question. So I do quite a lot of sort of like business pollination in the informal space. And there's an interesting conversation on the go at the moment. And it's very much how we create like a bridged gap between formal business and informal business so that there's sort of like a mutually beneficial space.
Yeah.
And there's also a really nice learning space. So, you know, I think, yeah, tax is that big sort of question mark place that no one wants to go into, because what the tax man doesn't know, he doesn't need to know. But I think there's an opportunity of education where the thing that we discuss a lot with the guys that are more sort of informal businesses is, with formalization comes other potential. If you have your own business and you're keeping a good set of books, you have access to credit, you have access to scaling, you have access to a bond, you can improve your living conditions. So yeah, it's just, I think, because it's quite an uncomfortable conversation for those of us in the very formal space, that there are great opportunities to have very meaningful conversations sort of without barriers, let's put it that way. And it's, for me, it's a fascinating space to operate in at the moment, because when you take the time out and you spend time in local communities that you would consider to be quite informal, you realize that the economy is thriving, and sometimes even more so than what we would see in a more formal space.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, they've got very innovative ways of, you know, the one thing he touches on is the whole issue of price. He says, we think that lower prices exist within the informal economy, and he says it's not always the case. Sometimes it is value that they sort of measure. So, and they are prepared to pay for value. And that was a very interesting sort of insight for me, because I used to think, oh, well, you know, informal economies are cheaper than a ShopRite or whatever. And it's not always the case.
No, because you pay one for the convenience, and you
Yeah.
also pay for the fact that if you only need 100 grams of sugar today and 100
Yeah.
grams of sugar tomorrow, somebody is making it possible for you to not overinvest in what your needs are, but that comes at a price,
Yeah. Yeah, very
which is
much.
a huge opportunity.
It's amazing the stories he tell, how
Yeah.
people of a household that could have an income of 70,000 bucks a month.
Yeah.
You know, and how many households in the formal economy could say that they get 70,000 bucks a month, you know?
Oh, completely.
And then they work in harsh conditions, you know, in small areas, and they really hustle, you know. It's really a hope story I think we need to embrace. You know, there's so much negativity, and instead of us just focusing on the negative issues, start focusing on the positive things. You know, if out of 10 of these households really hustle, and it's something to rejoice in.
No, absolutely. If anybody has access, or anybody's on Instagram, you must have a look at what's going on in Leratoli Avenue in Langa. That for me is probably one of the, it's a fantastic sort of piloting space. There's an art gallery, there are restaurants, there's a food garden, They're having open lange, I think once a month at the moment, where they close the streets, and it's a proper neighborhood, you know. I mean, people think because it was the first township in the Western Cape that it's a very informal, unorganized space. It's not. It's amazing, and it is so rich in culture and people that are sharing their art, how they live. No, it's hugely enlightening.
Yeah. It is the other world. You know?
It is. It is.
We just need to take notice now, you know, that you do have the informal economy in South Africa, and the problem I have is our measurements. If we do not measure, how do we really know what is the GDP of South Africa? If we
Exactly.
just rely on formal sort of figures and systems. Yep, thank you. Thank you for your contribution. More discussions? Right, thank you, Rejon. Well, if that is the case, yes, Farisha.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yes, I think I missed it. I actually had a question. The book, The Hidden Potential. Did you already talk about it, or are you gonna talk about it in the future? Because I'm interested in reading the book.
Yeah, yeah, we had discussion of the book. I think
Yes.
you could contact Izali, and maybe she could give you an recording of the discussion.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Right?
Yes. Thank you.
More questions? Right, everybody, thank you very much for joining this end of the year session. I know everybody's very busy. You've got a lot of parties and farewells and all these things. But next time we talk about the art of scale. So have a good evening.